9 times now. Little Miss Reliable. Thanks. Sis. Dylan's voice cuts through the bank lobby like a blade as he snatches the $52,000 cash envelope from my hands. The money counting machines buzz. Whispers ripple through the Monday morning crowd. He pats my shoulder like I'm a loyal dog, grinning as he stuffs my life savings into his designer jacket. Every penny from 8 years of teaching special education, gone in 30 seconds. Just like 2015 when you saved my bar from bankruptcy. That's what family does, right? The teller stares. Other customers pull out phones. Dylan whistles as he strolls toward the exit, calling back, "You know I'm good for it, sis." In the security glass reflection, I see a dozen phones recording my humiliation. Someone whispers behind me, "Jesus, his own sister, and he cleaned her out completely." Standalone, quote, 32 years feeding a leech who says thanks when he needs money and calls me crazy when I ask for it back. The automatic doors close behind him. I'm left with $47 in my account and the taste of metal in my mouth. But this time, something's different. This time, I'm not swallowing the rage. My Honda Civic coughs through the suburban streets of Aurora, past identical ranch houses where normal families probably have normal problems. The gas light glows like an accusation on my dashboard, another luxury I can no longer afford thanks to my generous donation to Kyle's lifestyle. I pull into the parking lot of Kyle's luxury apartment complex, where BMWs and Mercedes gleam in the Colorado sun. My Honda looks like a refugee among royalty. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his third-floor unit, I can see movement. Kyle, probably celebrating his latest financial conquest. The memory hits without warning, sharp and bitter as winter air. December 2015. Olive Garden on South Colorado Boulevard. Breadsticks growing cold on red checkered tablecloths. My master's degree graduation party. My parents' grudging concession to marking my achievement. I'm 31, finally earning my special education certification after years of night classes. Kyle's starting his photography studio. Mom announces over my untouched celebratory tiramisu. He needs $15,000 for professional equipment. The entire extended family table turns expectant eyes toward me. Aunt Carmen nods approvingly. Since Rachel's got that stable job now, Uncle Roberto raises his Corona in a toast. To family investments. The phrase makes my achievement sound like a business transaction rather than 7 years of sacrifice. I watch my graduation become Kyle's fundraising event. My diploma transformed into proof of my earning potential. The breadsticks taste like sawdust. But I smile and agree to help family dreams come true. The second memory follows like a sucker punch. July 2001. I'm 13, standing in my quinceañera dress that will never see its party. The pink tulle scratches against my legs while Mom explains why my celebration money went to Kyle's legal fees instead. Kyle made a mistake. Mija, she says, not meeting my eyes. Family forgives. Family protects. The dress hangs in my closet for 2 years, gathering dust and moth holes, a monument to misplaced priorities. Kyle gets a lawyer. I get a Walmart cake and a lecture about understanding family loyalty. 20 years later, sitting in this parking lot with an empty bank account, I finally understand the lesson they were really teaching. Kyle's mistakes become family emergencies, but Rachel's achievements become family opportunities. Standalone, quote, 20 years of lifting him up while he uses me as a stepping stool. My phone buzzes with a text from Kyle. Thanks for the loan. Sis, you're the best. Loan. As if either of us expects repayment. As if this isn't exactly what happened to my quinceañera money, my college fund, my car down payment, and every other financial milestone that mysteriously became Kyle's emergency. I delete the message without responding and start planning my first act of rebellion. The espresso machines grind like my teeth as I spread Kyle's business documents across a corner table sticky with previous customers' lies. The lunch crowd flows around me, young professionals typing importantly on MacBooks, students cramming for exams, the ambient noise of a world that keeps functioning while mine implodes. Sarah Lopez slides into the seat across from me, her detective's instincts already cataloging the evidence scattered between our coffee cups. We've been friends since high school, back when she was just Sarah from AP Biology and not Detective Lopez from Denver PD's Financial Crimes Unit. Today, I need her professional expertise more than her friendship. Rachel, what am I looking at? She picks up Kyle's LLC registration, her trained eyes scanning details I'm too emotional to process clearly. I explain the morning's bank withdrawal, the pattern of family investments, the mysterious success of Kyle's photography business despite no visible clients. Sarah's expression grows darker with each revelation. These numbers don't match any legitimate business model, she says, finger tracing Kyle's reported income. 80,000 last year? Where are the client contracts? The invoices? She flips through more papers. And these business expenses, Vegas trips, designer clothes, car payments. Rachel, this isn't business. This is money, laundering your emotional guilt. Sarah highlights the discrepancies in Kyle's LLC documentation, massive income with no supporting client base or legitimate revenue streams. Her next discovery makes my stomach drop. Bank statements showing Kyle's business purchases include luxury items, travel, and lifestyle expenses that have nothing to do with photography. Look at this pattern, Sarah says, voice rising enough to attract attention from nearby tables. Every major business expense corresponds with your bank withdrawals. You're not investing in his career. You're funding his lifestyle while he plays artist. The young professional at the next table pauses his typing to eavesdrop. Two women discussing their Tinder dates lower their voices to listen. My financial humiliation becomes entertainment for strangers. Sarah, he's family. Family doesn't bleed you dry while calling it love, she interrupts, her cop voice cutting through my conditioning. That's organized crime with birthday parties. Standalone. Quote, family doesn't bleed you dry while calling it love. That's organized crime with birthday parties. The coffee shop suddenly feels too small, too public. But Sarah's not finished. She pulls out her phone and starts typing, her detective instincts fully engaged. Rachel, I'm running his business license through our database. If Kyle's operating the way I think he is, this goes way beyond family dysfunction. This could be criminal fraud. Bussin'. For the first time since this morning's humiliation, I feel something besides defeat. Professional validation cuts through 34 years of family programming like a scalpel through infected tissue. Maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe this really is as wrong as it feels. The Rhino Art District Gallery thrums with opening night energy, wine glasses clinking, intellectual conversations about artistic vision, the kind of pretentious gathering where people use words like provocative and transformative to describe photographs of children. My students' faces stare back at me from expensive frames. Kyle's Invisible Voices exhibition covers 3 walls with portraits of special needs children, each tagged with prices ranging from $2,000 to $5,000. My throat constricts as I recognize Emma, my non-verbal autistic student, captured in what Kyle's artist statement calls raw authenticity. There's Marcus, my Down syndrome student, described as representing society's overlooked humanity. These are my kids, my classroom, my trust, violated and monetized. James Whitfield, the gallery owner, guides a small crowd through Kyle's artistic vision while a Westward reporter scribbles notes. Kyle stands in the center, wearing the confident smile of an artist whose work finally receives the recognition it deserves. The photographer spent months gaining access to these remarkable subjects. Whitfield explains to the growing audience. The intimacy captured here speaks to Kyle Martinez's unique ability to connect with society's most vulnerable populations. My rage builds like steam in a pressure cooker. Kyle used my classroom access, my relationship with these children, my professional reputation to create his art career, without permission from parents, without consent from the school, without any consideration for the exploitation he was committing. The Westward reporter approaches Kyle with her digital recorder. Can you speak to your process for accessing these subjects? How did you build trust with this community? This is my moment. I step into the circle of wine-sipping art patrons and camera flashes. Ish. James, I say loud enough for the growing crowd to hear. Did Kyle mention these subjects are my students, photographed without parental consent or school authorization? The gallery falls silent except for the soft jazz playing overhead. Wine glasses pause mid-sip. The reporter's pen stops moving. Kyle's confident mask slips for just a moment before snapping back into place. My sister struggles with boundaries around her work, he says smoothly. The stress of special education has affected her judgment about what constitutes appropriate artistic collaboration. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Kyle just weaponized my profession and my students' disabilities in one calculated sentence. I pull out my phone and display printed emails Kyle sent to potential buyers. James, would you mind reading these messages aloud? The ones where Kyle promises exclusive access to authentic special needs subjects for $500 per session? Whitfield's face drains of color as he reads. The crowd murmurs with growing horror. Parents of typical children back away as if my proximity might contaminate them with the scandal. Kyle's business partner, Devin Blake, suddenly eager to distance himself, reveals Kyle promised ongoing access to vulnerable subjects through family connections as their primary business model. The reporter pivots her questions toward exploitation instead of artistic vision. Gallery patrons set down their wine and move toward the exit. Kyle's triumphant opening becomes a public relations disaster in real time. Standalone, quote, 15 years funding a man who sees my students as exclusive access to vulnerable subjects for his art career. As the gallery empties and Whitfield announces the exhibition's immediate cancellation, Kyle corners me near the exit. Rachel, you just destroyed my career over some paperwork technicalities, he hisses. These kids don't even understand what art is. You're making this about your control issues. Get away from me, I say, my voice carrying across the nearly empty gallery. Before I call the police and report you for exploiting disabled children, Kyle pulls out his phone as he heads for the door. By the time I reach my car, I already have 3 missed calls from my parents. The real war is about to begin. The family intervention happens in my parents' living room in North Glen, but it feels like a tribunal. Aunts, uncles, cousins fill every available seat, called to witness my concerning behavior. The smell of coffee mingles with Mom's vanilla candles and the metallic taste of betrayal. Mija, we're worried about you, Mom begins, her nurse's voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to handling crises. Kyle says you've been having episodes, attacking him publicly, making wild accusations. The family nods in unified concern. Uncle Roberto, who borrowed $500 from me last Christmas, suddenly becomes an expert on my mental health. Aunt Carmen, who never paid back my graduation gift loan, expresses deep worry about my stability. Kyle sits at the center like a wounded prince, occasionally dabbing his eyes with tissues. I just want my sister to get help, he tells the assembled family. The stress of working with disabled kids has clearly triggered something. 24 hours later, my principal, Dr. Helen Torres, calls me into her office. Kyle's detailed email sits open on her computer screen, outlining my increasingly erratic behavior and concerning obsession with money that could endanger the vulnerable children in my care. Rachel, we're receiving reports that you've been having public emotional episodes, Dr. Torres says, her voice carefully neutral. Given your work with special needs children, we have to take these concerns seriously. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead as I try to explain Kyle's exploitation of my students. But Kyle's preemptive strike worked perfectly. My legitimate complaints sound like desperate deflection. The cease and desist letter from the family attorney arrives by courier at my school during lunch period. Other teachers watch as I sign for legal documents that threaten to sue me for defaming Kyle's artistic reputation. The lunch ladies whisper. The custodial staff exchanges knowing looks. My professional reputation dies in real time. Meanwhile, Kyle's social media campaign reaches full swing. Edited video from the gallery confrontation shows only my aggressive behavior while removing his admissions. The hashtags Hajj, Pray for Rachel, and Ash Family Struggles generate supportive comments about supporting family members with mental health issues. My parents contact Wells Fargo about their concerns regarding my mental stability as co-signer on my mortgage. They spread carefully worded rumors through church, the neighborhood, family friends. My reputation gets systematically poisoned across every social circle. The final blow comes when Mom calls my doctor's office claiming a family emergency, trying to access my medical records or influence my treatment. High pay blocks her access, but the attempt plants seeds about my deteriorating mental state that bloom into whispered conversations wherever I go. Standalone quote: watch a master manipulator work. He turns your truth into evidence of insanity, your evidence into proof of obsession. 3 weeks after the gallery opening, I'm suspended from teaching pending a comprehensive evaluation of my mental fitness to work with vulnerable children. My mortgage enters review status. My extended family treats me like a volatile mental patient. Kyle didn't just destroy my accusations, he destroyed me. Sitting in my empty house, looking at legal bills I can't afford and a suspension I can't fight. I realize Kyle has been studying my psychology for decades, preparing for the day I'd finally fight back. He knew exactly which pressure points would make me collapse. 2 a.m. in a King Soopers parking lot during a snowstorm feels like the edge of the world. My Honda sits under a flickering streetlight, windows fogging with desperate breath. The heater barely works. I can't afford to heat my house. Unemployment paperwork spreads across my steering wheel. Numbers blurring through tears I can't afford to cry. I'm seriously considering sleeping in my car when the tap comes on my driver's side window. Detective Sarah Lopez stands in the blizzard, her breath visible in the freezing air. She's off duty, shopping for her sick daughter's medicine, but she recognizes personal crisis when she sees it. Rachel, get in my car, she says through the glass. You're hypothermic. Her patrol car smells like coffee and determination. The radio crackles with other people's emergencies while Sarah hands me a thermos of something hot and life-saving. My brother cleaned out my savings for his music career 10 years ago, Sarah says without preamble. Lost my house, almost lost my badge. Sometimes blood relatives become financial predators who understand exactly which emotional buttons to push. We sit in silence, two women united by family betrayal, while snow covers the windshield like a burial shroud. What happened to you isn't family dysfunction, Sarah continues. It's systematic financial abuse with legal implications. I specialize in these cases. Rachel, what Kyle did, using your professional access to exploit children, that's federal territory. For the first time in weeks, Someone believes me without requiring proof of my sanity first. Sarah opens her laptop and starts typing. Let me run Kyle's business license through our database. If he's operating the way I think he is, he's left a trail of financial crimes stretching back years. Standalone. Quote, real families don't require financial bleeding while calling it love. What happened to you was economic domestic violence. 2 hours later, sitting in an all-night diner over coffee that tastes like hope, Sarah shows me what her database search revealed. Kyle's pattern extends far beyond me. 2 previous business partners filed complaints about similar schemes. A massage therapist who gave him access to her client list. A social worker who let him photograph her group therapy sessions. I'm not his first victim. I'm just his most successful long-term project. Rachel, we're not just getting your money back, Sarah says, spreading evidence across the diner table. We're putting him away before he finds his next target. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead like a promise. For the first time since this nightmare began, I'm not fighting alone. Sarah's basement office looks like a crime thriller set. Evidence boards covering every wall, red string connecting photographs, stacks of documents organized with military precision. David Chang, the forensic accountant Sarah recruited, spreads Kyle's financial records across her desk like tarot cards revealing a dark future. This isn't amateur hour, David says, highlighting discrepancies with surgical precision. Kyle filed fraudulent tax returns claiming Rachel as a business partner while keeping all profits. That's federal tax fraud with mandatory prison sentences. Janet Hill from the IRS examines Kyle's business expense claims with the enthusiasm of someone who's found her white whale. He claimed Rachel's teaching supplies, car payments, and rent as business deductions while she received none of the profits. We can seize everything he purchased with stolen money. The photography scheme reveals its true horror under professional scrutiny. Kyle didn't just exploit my students for art. He sold access to vulnerable children to multiple buyers, some with questionable backgrounds. Child exploitation charges under Colorado law carry decades of prison time. Sarah's investigation recovered deleted voicemails where Kyle brags to friends about bleeding my special ed sister dry and using her guilt about disabled kids for easy profit. His casual cruelty, preserved in digital amber, becomes the smoking gun that will destroy him. Standalone, quote, he didn't just steal your money, he monetized your compassion and sold access to vulnerable children. The evidence creates a web of federal crimes: tax fraud, identity theft, wire fraud, child exploitation, conspiracy. Every financial abuse I suffered becomes a building block in Kyle's federal indictment. But the most damning evidence comes from Kyle's own mouth. Audio recordings reveal him coaching our parents on how to gaslight me more effectively, how to isolate me from support systems, how to weaponize my career against me. The special ed thing is perfect, Kyle's voice says through Sarah's speakers. She'll never fight back if she thinks it might hurt her precious kids. Keep her broke and guilty, and she'll fund my lifestyle forever. Listening to my brother strategize my psychological destruction like a military campaign, I feel something inside me crystallize into diamond-hard resolve. Kyle didn't just betray me, he studied me like a predator studies prey. Time to show him what prey looks like when it develops teeth. The federal courthouse in downtown Denver feels like a cathedral of justice. All marble columns and soaring ceilings designed to remind everyone present that the law transcends individual cruelty. The gallery overflows with special education professionals, parents of my former students, local media covering the child exploitation angle, and family members who finally started questioning which side of this fight they want to be on. Federal prosecutor Michelle Torres approaches the bench with the methodical precision of someone who's never lost a case this solid. Kyle sits at the defendant's table, his confident smirk finally replaced by the pallor of someone realizing his psychological warfare can't manipulate federal evidence. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Torres begins. You're about to witness how a man turned family loyalty into a 15-year criminal enterprise that culminated in the exploitation of disabled children for profit. The evidence presentation unfolds like a masterclass in systematic abuse. Digital forensics reveal Kyle's money laundering operation. Banking records show my financial bleeding funding his luxury lifestyle. Audio recordings expose his calculated manipulation of my professional compassion. When Torres plays Kyle's deleted voicemails about bleeding my special ed sister dry, several jury members visibly recoil. The gallery erupts in whispers. Kyle's defense attorney looks like he's contemplating a career change. Public humiliation. Bummer 3. My victim impact statement becomes the courtroom's emotional centerpiece. I described 20 years of financial abuse while Kyle monetized my access to vulnerable children. Gallery reactions are visible. Even Kyle's remaining supporters look disgusted. Your Honor, I say, my voice carrying across the packed courtroom. Kyle didn't just steal my money. He weaponized my love for disabled children, turning my classroom into his personal marketplace. He sold access to kids who trusted me, who couldn't protect themselves, who became his inventory in a business model built on exploitation. Kyle's final manipulation attempt falls flat against federal evidence. His claim about my mental instability crumbles when Torres plays the original, unedited recordings proving his systematic gaslighting campaign. Judge Patricia Williams's voice cuts through the courtroom like divine judgment. Mr. Martinez, you have used medical training knowledge gained through your sister to manipulate vulnerable populations. This court finds your pattern of behavior represents a clear and present danger to society's most defenseless members. Comprehensive federal justice. Kyle, 8 years federal prison, plus lifetime ban from working with children, plus $400,000 restitution. Parents, 2 years supervised probation, $75,000 in fines, plus mandatory financial counseling, complete asset forfeiture, Kyle's apartment, car, camera equipment, all gallery proceeds, outside the courthouse. I address the media crowd that's been following this story since the gallery opening. The statement becomes a viral sensation about recognizing family financial abuse. Standalone, quote, family loyalty never required funding his lifestyle while he sold access to vulnerable children. That was organized crime wearing holiday sweaters. As Kyle gets led away in federal handcuffs, he makes one final attempt at manipulation. Rachel, you just destroyed our whole family over money. I hope you're happy. I watch the handcuffs close around his wrists and feel something I haven't experienced in 34 years, complete, unqualified peace. I'm not happy. Kyle. I call after him. I'm free. 14 months after federal court. I stand in my own kitchen, brewing coffee in a house I own outright thanks to asset forfeiture and restitution funds. The morning light streams through windows I chose, in a space where Kyle's manipulation can't reach. The silence feels like luxury. My new position at Denver Academy for Exceptional Children pays nearly double my previous salary. The federal case publicity brought job offers from across the country. But I chose to stay in Colorado, close to the community that supported my fight for justice. Sarah visits regularly, our friendship deepened by shared battle scars. She's been promoted to supervisor of financial crimes. Partly based on the high-profile success of Kyle's prosecution, we drink coffee and plan victim advocacy workshops for other women learning to recognize family financial abuse. The mail brings another letter from Kyle, written from federal prison. I don't open it. The attorney who handles all family communication tells me Kyle's appeals have been denied. His lifetime ban from working with children ensures my former students remain safe from his exploitation. My parents face continued legal bills and social ostracization. Church members cross the street to avoid them. Neighbors whisper about the family who destroyed their daughter to protect their son's criminal enterprise. The Latino community that once embraced their success story now uses them as a cautionary tale about misplaced family loyalty. Standalone, quote, "True family builds you up instead of bleeding you dry for profit. I've established absolute boundaries. Zero contact with Kyle. Minimal contact with parents through attorneys only. Extended family members who supported Kyle's gaslighting campaign find themselves excluded from my life permanently. Some apologize, seeking reconciliation. But I've learned the difference between genuine remorse and manipulation designed to regain access. Forgiveness, I've discovered, doesn't require maintaining relationships with people who would destroy you again given the opportunity. My therapy group meets Wednesday evenings at the community center. 8 women, all survivors of family financial abuse, learning to trust their instincts instead of their conditioning. We practice saying no without guilt, setting boundaries without apology, recognizing love that doesn't require financial sacrifice. The special education conference circuit has become my second career. I speak at universities, professional development workshops, victim advocacy groups about recognizing exploitation disguised as family obligation. The story resonates because family financial abuse remains society's best kept secret, hidden behind holiday dinners and family photos, enabled by cultural expectations about loyalty and sacrifice. My dating life has resumed slowly, carefully. The federal prosecutor who handled Kyle's case asked me to dinner 3 months ago. Miguel understands boundary enforcement in ways that feel like speaking the same language. Our relationship builds on mutual respect rather than one person's financial utility to the other. Kyle's former apartment complex evicted him when asset forfeiture proceedings began. His luxury car was auctioned, his camera equipment distributed to local schools, his gallery proceeds donated to special education programs. The man who monetized my compassion inadvertently funded the very programs he exploited. Some victories taste like justice, others taste like freedom. The University of Colorado Boulder Auditorium holds 500 social workers, educators, and victim advocates. Afternoon sunlight streams through tall windows as I conclude my keynote about recognizing family financial abuse disguised as loyalty obligations. I confused financial bleeding with family loyalty for 34 years, I tell the attentive audience. Kyle convinced me that love required funding his lifestyle while he sold access to vulnerable children. It took federal prosecutors to explain that was organized crime, not family devotion. The standing ovation lasts nearly 2 minutes. Audience members wipe tears, take notes, approach the stage with their own stories of family exploitation. The Q&A session runs over time as people share experiences they've never felt safe discussing publicly. My phone buzzes with a call from unknown number, Kyle calling from federal prison. I decline without hesitation and return my focus to the woman asking about protecting elderly parents from financial abuse by adult children. Standalone. Quote, "Love doesn't require a price tag, a business plan, or access to vulnerable people." Walking off stage, I find Sarah waiting with a proud smile. We head to dinner at a restaurant Kyle could never afford, celebrating another successful workshop in our growing advocacy network. The conversation flows easily, filled with plans for expanding our victim education programs and upcoming conferences. No discussion of family obligation, no requests for financial support, no exploitation disguised as affection. Just friendship between equals who respect each other's boundaries. Universal question. When family asks you to sacrifice everything while calling it love, how do you recognize the difference between loyalty and exploitation? Outside the university, Autumn leaves swirl in Colorado wind that smells like fresh starts and second chances. I drive home to my own space, funded by my own work, protected by boundaries I'll never compromise again. Kyle gets parole consideration in 6 years. By then, I'll have helped hundreds of other women recognize financial predators wearing family faces. His exploitation of my compassion will have generated protection for countless others who deserve better than bleeding money for people who mistake their sacrifice for weakness. Some stories end with forgiveness, others end with justice. Mine ends with freedom.